We all have a purpose. Here's how I found mine. This is not a sequel. This is the descent. I'm not here to teach you, I'm here to guide. I think most people believe purpose arrives like lightning. Like one day you wake up and suddenly know exactly who you are, what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to go. But that's not how it happened for me. For me, purpose arrived through exhaustion, as in, I exhausted every other path and left myself no other way. And the strange part is, on the outside, I was functional, but internally, I was disappearing. Not dramatically, not all at once, just slowly, quietly, the way most adults disappear. I think that's where a lot of people are right now. Not dead, not broken, not failing even, just disconnected from themselves for so long they no longer recognize who they were before the world told them who they needed to be. That was me. And I didn't find myself by becoming more successful. I found myself when I finally got quiet enough to hear what my body had been trying to say all along. There's a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. And if you've experienced it, you know exactly what I mean. It's not tired, it's deeper than that. It's waking up already depleted. It's feeling like every task takes more energy than you actually have. It's forcing yourself through life because stopping doesn't feel like an option. And for years, that became normal for me. I worked in healthcare, ironically. I spent my life helping people move while my own body was quietly collapsing underneath me. And I became very good at functioning. Most high performers are. We learn how to override signals. Pain, you push through. Fatigue, push through. Stress, push through. Emotion, push through. Eventually, your entire identity becomes built around endurance, not alignment, not health, not joy, just endurance. But eventually, the body stops negotiating. And that's what happened to me. Not punishment, communication. My body was forcing me to acknowledge something my mind refused to admit. The life I was living was no longer connected to who I was. I think a lot of people are experiencing this. Not necessarily disease, not yet, but disconnection from themselves, from meaning, from stillness, from purpose. We've normalized treating people like machines, ourselves. Then we wonder why anxiety, exhaustion, inflammation, depression, addiction, isolation, and ultimately emotional numbness are becoming standard operating procedure. The body never lies. It adapts, compensates, performs, survives till it can't anymore. What people don't understand about burnout is many times you still feel productive. You look successful. You're the person everyone depends on. That was also me. I was always dreaming about building something bigger, but I kept hesitating, procrastinating. There's that word again. Waiting, thinking I needed more clarity, more certainty, more energy, more confidence. But the truth, you don't need more. You need less. I wasn't lazy. Deep down, I knew the next chapter required me to become someone different. Transformation sounds beautiful until it starts dismantling your identity. Because the moment you stop performing the version of yourself everyone recognizes, people get uncomfortable. You get uncomfortable. There were moments where I wanted to disappear completely from life, from the noise, from expectation, from performance. I needed silence. Not because I was giving up, because I was trying to hear myself again. A lot of you secretly crave that. Not more information, not more content, not more optimization. You want relief from the constant pressure to perform. You want permission to exist without pretending. That's why you feel emotionally exhausted, because you are carrying versions of yourself you no longer recognize. The world is entering a strange season. You can feel it. Even if you can't explain it, there's anxiety everywhere, noise everywhere, fear everywhere. So you keep looking outside yourself for certainty, but I don't think certainty lives out there anymore. I think the next era belongs to people who learn that certainty comes from within. If your peace depends on the external world behaving predictably, you will never feel safe. We've been taught how to produce, how to compete, how to consume, how to react, and how to sit quietly with no thoughts, but not how to sit quietly with our own thoughts, how to read each other's emotions, but not how to interpret our own, and not how to understand the language of our bodies, not how to ask, who am I, without the job, without the performance, without the identity, without the approval. That question changed everything for me. Once you begin looking inward, honestly, you start realizing how much of your life was built from conditioning instead of truth. And the realization can feel terrifying, but it can also become freedom. I used to think purpose was something you achieved. Now I think purpose is something you uncover, remember, something that was already there underneath the noise. And for me, my purpose is simple: to help people reconnect with themselves, starting with myself through honesty, through awareness. Manifest Health is not a program, not a trend, not a self help book. It's an invitation to go inside of yourself, to listen, to remember who you are, and to reconnect. And that's where this journey begins, inside. So if you've been feeling exhausted, confused, emotionally numb, stuck between who you've been and who you feel yourself becoming, I want you to know something. You're not alone. And maybe this season of your life is not the collapse of your identity. Maybe it's the beginning of your return. Not back to the person the world needed you to be, back to the person you were before you forgot yourself. I think healing is less about becoming someone new and more about remembering who you were before fear disconnected you from yourself. The split, the feeling that there were two of you. For me, I was the observer and the human. Most people feel this way, but never articulate it. For me, the observer was a writer and the human was an athlete. Writing helped me to hear myself. Movement helped me to believe in myself. The quiet observer and the impulsive human. Not good and bad, not fixed and broken, learned and learning. The observer seemed smarter and sophisticated. The human seemed clueless at times. The observer protected me while the other one often embarrassed me, but that was how I learned. She created the lessons I needed. The quiet one was always strangely aware. The other part was fully human, impulsive, emotional, curious, sometimes reckless. That version of me wanted to experience everything: freedom, attention. She wanted to feel important, to win. I always wanted to be enlightened, but somehow I ended up being goofy. And honestly, I think that's how I developed my sense of humor. Every time I started taking myself too seriously, life would hand me a perfectly timed moment of stupidity. Those moments embarrassed me, but in reality, they probably saved me. Intelligence, awareness, intuition, and talent can become arrogance if they aren't balanced by humility. Somehow, every time I started feeling too important, I would say or do something that knocked me off the pedestal. I started laughing at myself before anyone else had the chance. But over time, something changed. I stopped needing recognition for who I thought I was becoming. I stopped needing to appear special. I stopped needing to win every invisible competition I had entered. When I was younger, I was always trying to gain an edge somehow. Not sinister, not criminal, just rebellious. I refused to blindly follow someone else's rules. A lot of my time was spent testing systems, trying to figure out what was real and what was performance. I wrote constantly. Writing gave shape to my thoughts, and I trusted what I wrote, but sometimes I didn't understand it. I was in constant motion except when I was writing. Movement gave the words somewhere to go. The thoughts alone weren't enough, and the activity united my inner world with the outer one. Maybe that's true for everyone. Maybe we all spend our lives trying to reconcile the person we feel ourselves to be with the person we become. I don't know. I just know that for most of my life, I felt split between the one who knew and the one who was learning. Somehow they kept each other balanced. And somehow both versions were necessary for me to become who I am now. Everyone hears the call. Most ignore it. This is the path I took to answer mine. And I think we are built for the life we're meant to live long before we understand why. Looking back, I can see it now. The writing, the movement, the questioning, the rebellion, the silence, all of it mattered.